We often measure our success in learning a language by how fast we get to fluency, or even just by fluency itself. And I want to talk in this video about how that being your main metric for measuring your success may actually be holding you back from getting closer to your goals. Plus, what metrics to actually focus on instead to keep you consistent and also make the learning experience still stay joyful. Fluency as a metric can be very vague. Whenever we tell ourselves that we want to get to a B2 in German or a C1 in French and Italian, there are so many different components of learning a language that really, if we're not taking an official language learning exam, telling ourselves that and regarding that as the pinnacle of fluency can set ourselves back by always making sure the goalpost keeps moving. Have you ever related to maybe you spoke fluidly in a conversation for the first time, but then you realize, actually, there's so much that I still don't know, and now I have to keep going. And so it feels like you never really hit your goal in the first place because your standards for being successful keeps on moving away from you. Instead, what I encourage you to think about are the 3 core principles of successful language learning that are fundamental to the Mindful Fluency Method, which is a method I created to help language learners learn to progress faster, but also learn languages joyfully and sustainably on their own terms. So what are the core principles? They are use your language learning, aka make your learning useful, sustainable, and enjoyable at any phase, with any resource, with any season of life. So these 3 principles, as well as how well you keep adapting your routine in order to consistently be sure that what you're doing matches them throughout all of your language learning seasons, that is the actual metric that will measure your long-term success in learning. It helps you really personalize what you find useful, sustainable, and enjoyable instead of worrying so much about what other people are doing, outsourcing so much of your self-confidence and self-trust to what you think you should be doing according to what you see others accomplishing. Yes, they can be looked at for inspiration, but if we find ourselves just wanting to copy them and not asking ourselves what is actually useful, sustainable, and enjoyable to us, then we're setting ourselves back from finding our own level of success in our learning. When you truly stick to these 3 principles, that is really when your fluency becomes practically inevitable. And you are much more focused and fulfilled by the actual process of getting to your goal instead of feeling that you have to rush the process in order to get to your goal as fast as possible to prove yourself. You do not need to prove yourself. You're right where you need to be. And if you are in language learning for the long term and want to see more of how to apply these principles, I invite you to ask questions categorized under each of the principles themselves. So take any sort of method, strategy, resource, even your routine itself, whatever you are doing weekly, for ensuring that that resource or strategy is still useful for you. Ask yourself the following questions. Is it useful to you? Does it deliver results? Does it get you stuck or help you keep going? Does it waste your time? And does it build on the skills that you need? If you answered yes to all of these questions, then that is a good indicator that it is useful. Let's move on to, is the resource or method sustainable? Does using it require you to change your whole life to fit in? How adaptable is it to when life seasons change? Does it fit around and in your life so that you feel that you have more energy and more bandwidth to concentrate on other hobbies or other obligations of your life? You shouldn't be bending over backwards in order to be able to do it. Is that method or resource enjoyable? Do you look forward to doing it? How much of a source of stress is it for you? And does the language learning resource or strategy feel like a chore to do? Really think about these 3 things, because we can usually really blame ourselves internally about what is going wrong in our learning, when really, when we zoom out and we get to observe our language learning through these principles, that's really when we can find the gaps of what has not been working for either our schedule or our life or our brains. If you are still finding yourself say, I am too busy, that is a really good indicator that what you're doing probably isn't sustainable. If you are feeling like you're bored, then that is a good indicator that what you're using isn't enjoyable. If you are finding yourself saying, actually, I've been trying to use what other language learners have, but the resource or method just isn't working for my brain, I don't know how to make it work, then you haven't been using something that's useful to who you are, right? So you are truly never the problem language learners. I want to emphasize that in this video. And this is a much more helpful metric to measure your language learning by, because once you get what is useful, sustainable, and enjoyable for you, you can start to understand what goals are actually more authentic to who you are, how your schedule looks, how your energy level and capacity look. These core principles are also part of Multilingual You, which is my one-on-one language coaching program for language learners. If you feel like you are done doing all of this alone and figuring it out, you might be a good fit for the program. So you can apply below in the pinned comment if you are interested. Give a like and subscribe, especially if this is the first time you are watching me and want to follow for more content. I'll see you in another video soon.